For joining.
You're welcome.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim.
Assalamualaikum
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Innal hamdalillah nahmaduhu wa nasta'inuhu wa nastaghfiruhu wa na'udzu billahi min syururi anfusina wa min sayyiati a'malina may yahdihillahu fala mudhillalah wa may yudhlil fala hadiyalah. Asyhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la syarikalah wa asyhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh la nabiyya wa rasula ba'da.
The Honorable to Director of Sunan Kalijaga Islamic State University, Professor Dr. Phil Almakin SAGMA, the Honorable Dean Faculty of Dakwah and Communication, Professor Dr. Hajah Marhumah MPD and Vice Dean, the Honorable Head of Department Communication and Islamic Broadcasting, Mr. Nanang Mizwar Hashim SOS MSE, our distinguished invited speakers, and all lecturer and staff of Faculty of Dakwah and Communication, and all the audiences and participants.
First of all, let's thank to God Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, the Almighty, who has been giving us mercies and blessings so we can join this event today without any obstacles in this happy place and time. Secondly, salawat and salam be with our Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, who has guided us from the darkness into the lightness in this world as well as in the next world. Ladies and gentlemen,
Welcome to the International Webinar 2021, presented by Communication and Islamic Broadcasting in collaboration with Apex Chronicles, by the topic Media Discourse, How the Media Construct Radicalism and Terrorism Issues.
Here I am, Salsabila Syeda Azhara and Febri Aldiansyah. We are the student of Department Communication and Islamic Broadcasting, Faculty of Dakwah and Communication. As the Master of Ceremony, will guide the webinar today. But before we start, let us explain the agenda schedule of this webinar. The first agenda is opening. The second is sing the national anthem Indonesia Raya and hymn of Sunan Kalijaga State Islamic University. The third is plenary session. The fourth is closing speech, and the last is closing.
Ladies and gentlemen, the first agenda is opening. Let's start our agenda today by reciting Basmalah together. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Before we go to the next agenda, let us explain the rules of this webinar today. First, host will start Zoom meeting early for the webinar registration. Second, to ensure the security of the session, we will need you to log in using your email address. Third, please make sure that your name is written correctly and using the format name_institution. Fourth, please turn off your microphone during the session in order to not disturb the discussion. Those are all the rules of webinar today, and we need to inform to all participants that in the end of this agenda, there will be a link of attendance.
Ladies and gentlemen, the next agenda is sing the national anthem Indonesia Raya and hymn of Sunan Kalijaga State Islamic University. Ladies and gentlemen, Indonesia Raya and Sunan Kalijaga State Islamic University are always sung in formal events as a form of nationalism, also a respect to the Indonesian and nation. To all ladies and gentlemen, please raise.
Sunan Kalijaga Islam, asas tujuanmu membangun citra keagungan bangsa berdasar Pancasila. Integrasikan, interkoneksikan agama dan ilmu semesta. Kembangkan daya patriot nusa tanah air bintang baktimu. Jayalah negara, jayalah bangsa, UIN berkarya nyata. UIN Sunan Kalijaga Islam, asas tujuanmu membangun citra keagungan bangsa berdasar Pancasila. Integrasikan, interkoneksikan agama dan ilmu semesta. Kembangkan daya patriot nusa tanah air bintang baktimu. Jayalah negara, jayalah bangsa, UIN berkarya nyata.
To all ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, the next agenda is the main session of the International Webinar 2021, presented by Communication and Islamic Broadcasting in collaboration with Apex Chronicles. By the topic, Media Discourse, How the Media Constructs Radicalism and Terrorism Issues. Let me introduce our speakers today. Mr. Hamdan Nowley, MSc, the researcher at UIN Sunan Kalijaga, Yogyakarta, and Ahmad El Muhammadi from Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. He is the Associate Fellow at International Center for Counterterrorism, The Hague. Ladies and gentlemen, this plenary session will be guided by the moderator, Kusumasari Ayuning Tias. Before we start this session, let us introduce our moderator. To Febri Aldiansa, please read the CV of our moderator today.
Kusuma Ayusari Dias is a journalist who has worked for the Jakarta Post in 2011 up to 2020 as stranger for the Greater Surakarta. In 2016, started working for Benar News, an online media affiliated with Radio Free Asia and based in Washington, D.C., as the correspondent of Yogyakarta and Central Java. Then became a contributor to the Southeast Asia Globe, a media outlet based in Cambodia, as well as working since 2020 for Fit Indo, which is an agribusiness industrial news agency based in France until 2021. Since June 2021, she became the correspondent for the Deutsche Welle to cover Yogyakarta and Central Java area. She also involved in the research of Wahid Hashim Wahid Foundation, an institution that is part of the Abdurrahman Wahid Foundation. How the radicalization process unfolds in order to help define strategies for the ultimate and critical goal of de-radicalization. And since July 2021, developed the Apex Chronicles, an online platform with her colleagues. Thus all the profile of our moderator today. And to Mbak Tias, The time is yours.
Okay, thank you, Mas Febri, for the very nice introduction. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. First of all, as the moderator, I would like to say thank you to the Honorable Sunan Kalijaga State Islamic University Rector Professor Dr. Phil Al-Makid, the Dean of the Faculty of Dakwah and Communication Professor Dr. Hajah Marhumah and staffs, our international speaker for the second day of the international webinar, Dr. Hamdan Nowley, researcher at the State Islamic University Sunan Kalijaga Yogyakarta, Indonesia, Mr. Ahmad Al-Muhammadi, an associate fellow at International Center for Counterterrorism, The Hague from Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, and all of the audiences for attending this international webinar. A collaboration between UIN Sunan Kalijaga Yogyakarta with an online independent media platform, the Apex Chronicles. This webinar brings a big theme about media discourse, how the media construct radicalism and terrorism. And after the speakers presented their presentation, we will have discussion and question session for about 30 minutes, right? 30 minutes to 45 minutes. After all, the speaker finished their presentation. Okay, at this very moment, I would like to read short bio of our first speaker, Dr. Hamdan Nowley. Born in South Tapanuli of North Sumatra, Dr. Hamdan Nowley is the chairman of Islamic Communication and Broadcast Program. He is actively involved as a freelance journalist in a regional newspaper, Kedaulatan Rakyat. He also a researcher and has become the editor of UIN's Research Journal of 2010 and 2016. Today, Dr. Hamdan Nowley will presenting his journal that he wrote with his colleague Rania Khaled Hussein Ahmed with title Managing Religious Harmony, Hoax, Dialogue, and Conflict Resolution in Meliana's Tragedy in Tanjong, Malay, Indonesia. But today, Dr. Hamdan will be represented by Ms. Rania Khaled Hussein, his research partner. Without any further delay, please welcome Ms. Rania Khaled Hussein. Ms. Rania?
Yeah, hello.
Hello.
How are you, Istias?
Fine. And are you ready now to present
Yes,
the
of course.
reference? Okay. Ms. Rania,
Okay.
the time is yours.
Okay, thank you. So, good morning, everyone. First of all, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Rania Khaled, and I am from Egypt. Today, I will be presenting the article. I was the research partner with Hamdan. So, I hope it will be interesting for you. And actually, I'm alumni from KPI, the Communication and Islamic Broadcasting of UIN, Sunan Kalijaga. So first, I would like to share with you the PowerPoint.
Hello, Rania. Will you share the PowerPoint by yourself or you need our help?
I can do it. Yeah, I'm back. Sorry, some technical issue.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay, Rania.
Okay. So
Or do
I think I will need your help in posting it because now it's not available the option to share it.
Okay, we
So
will help you to share the presentation.
yeah, sure.
But maybe you can start your presentation first. I mean, your explanation first while we prepare your presentation.
Okay, so today we will talk about the article that it was a research made about the religious harmony in Tanjong Palai in North Sumatra. So we will be discussing this today, and we know more about the conflict and how it happened, the cause, and we will search more about the findings. I hope it will be interesting for you today. I hope we can share the PowerPoint so soon, so we can start the systematic thing. So to understand more about the problem. Um, so, yep.
Okay, wait a minute. You can just continue your explanation while we're preparing the presentation, please.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
So we can we can talk first about the background of the problem. First, let's have an introduction about the Tanjung Palai, which is a city in North Sumatra. Before we talk about the problem, we need to understand the structure of the community. So first of all, it's like 52 square kilometers, the city itself, and it consists of different religious groups. It has like Muslims like 85%, Christian Protestant is 8%, while Buddhist is 5%, and Catholics 1%. Hinduism is 0.02%, and Confucius also is the same percentages. So this is, and also it's not only like that, it's also have a different ethnic group. The first ethnic group will be like Batak and Malay. Malay is the most the majority of the group is Malay, and it comes Batak, Javanese, and Chinese ethnicity and Indian origins. So as far as we can see, the community is consist of different religions and consist of different ethnic group. So it's very important for us to understand this background because it will lead us to understand the problem and the conflict that happened. So yeah, we can first let's understand the presentation, the introduction. It's first about if we are talking about the narrow understanding of religion's teaching can trigger conflict and anarchy. So the case point is the tragedy is the Tanjung Palai, as I explained before, which is a small town in North Sumatra. It was triggered by a narrow understanding of religious teaching and worship that leads to a conflict and result a trauma among the people and the worshippers. So this is the main problem that we're discussing in the article. Next. So the problem, it was like many people felt disturbed. Not actually many people will discuss more by the Muslim call of prayers on loudspeakers, which result the people protesting and there was jailing. This study tries to examine the phenomena from a different perspective. So we will see it from a new perspective today. Next. So in as a researcher, we try to explore deeply and applying the case study approach about different belief system in the society. the motive, event, and the purpose are among the questions to be answered in the study. So for the reason we are interested in investigating deeper into existing phenomena, which is the Tanjung Palai tragedy, and it's called Malayan case because Malayan is the person who started the conflict. Next. So if we are trying to understand the background of this study, our focus is about religious harmony and different group harmony, dialogue, and conflict resolution and hacks. Next. So the methods we used in this research, first the type of the research, it's qualitative descriptive study approach, which based on observation, in-depth interviews, and previous researches and studies. While the data collection techniques we used is the second method used in observation as a primary data used with the case study, which is Tanjung Palai, while the third method is interviews as a qualitative primary data. While the data analysis technique, or the techniques we use in the research is qualitative analysis method. Qualitative analysis is used to understand words, idea, and experience and events. While the research focus is the research, we were trying to explore deeply by applying a case study approach with each Tanjung Palai, approach by a different belief. So different belief and events and purpose are among the questions that we are trying to answer in this study. Next. Well, as I mentioned before, the background or the information about Tanjung Palai, we said like it's have like different groups. Also, it's a trading center strategic location because it's near the sea, the east side of Sumatra. And it's classified as plural town because it have different religious adherents and ethnicity. As I mentioned before, the percentage of each religion group, ethnically, most Palai, as I mentioned, is Malay, and also the population of Tanjung Palai is like 1,600. So and it have like the female is the majority in the city. So next. Well, so if we try to understand more about Tanjung Palai, so we will see that the government manages the public schools and the private institutions from elementary to high school. So various group organizations also have the contribution to schools when it comes to religious studies, like boarding schools, Pesantren, or like other Christian foundations. So there is it's mainly governed by the government, but also there is a religious institution. The Tanjung Palai can be classified as a religious because they are very religious, like and more to observance. The boarding Islamic school in Tanjung Palai has a result in deepening and intensify religious beliefs and ritual, as well as respecting each other and is the difference between them. So it's like the group, yeah, they are religious, but they also supposed like to learn the respecting of others and the harmony of the society since schools. Next. So yeah, and another fact about Tanjung Palai that it became the center of religious education and religious harmony and tolerance as shared among community members. So this is what's a community before the conflict. Next. Yeah, the emergence of intolerance action toward the group because of political difference, beliefs, ethnicity, culture, and other increasingly prevalent in the community. So mainly what causes this problem, it's not the religion, because the religion itself, in each religion, they have teaching of tolerance, understanding, and coexisting. But while there's other agenda like political agenda or personal agenda, it may interfere and make this intolerance action happen and make this kind of conflict. So the case point is the destruction of a Buddhist temple in Tanjong Palai, North Sumatra, by some Muslims overrating the protest conducted by a woman named Meliana, who happened to be a Chinese descent or race. This is intolerance action even result in Meliana in prison. So what happened is like that Meliana, she lives next to a mosque, and mosque have a loudspeaker in the calls for the prayer. She was annoyed and she tried to protest and to make like she sharing information on social media. So we have the element of social media and the element of journalism that happen to share some false news, make people more angry and make people more to protest, and it caused this kind of conflict within the society. Next. But what is the characteristic of the Malay community in Tanjung Palai? First, they are very famous for being very hospitable, honest, friendly, and this is the characteristic of the Malay community and the people there. So this is the basic thing we need to understand. So if this is the nature of the community, what happened to make this conflict? So mainly what happened, it was not the characteristics of the people or the Islamic teaching, but it's the increase of house news and the social media, and also like some personal and political agenda. Next. So let's move to the discussion. So before talking about we already talked about the characteristics of the Malay community, and we were talking about the religious teaching in the schools and the institutions. So there was a harmony in the society. So yeah, the people from different group and different tradition, they were living in harmony until the case of Meliana in 2016 or 2019. So the statement by Habibs was like clear that, as we can see here, like the people in Tanjung Palai conducts religious harmony. It seeks in the religious harmony form that does religious dialogue activities. Many figures are communicated and potential conflict, as well as to be terminated through communication and the community among religious leaders. So we need to understand that with the dialogue is a very important key to solve any conflict. The dialogue and having a shared speak between different group and different religions, and to solve the problem by coming all together and having one table of talking is better than letting the social media and the journalism take the place to increase the house. Yeah. So the solution to the problem is establishing the continuity of religious harmony among religions and people. This is what's said by Syriac. Next. Okay, the riot of Tanjung Palai in 2016 was influenced by using social media, which is breeding of the hoax. The case of Maliana occurred when a Muslim was arrested for the jail. The spread of the news over the incident was false and twisted by some people. The incident caused mobs of the Muslims and Chinese ethnicity to get angry and their economic activities disturbed. Likewise, the Chinese economic activity had been more advanced than local Muslims. With news spread through its social media, it was making local people unsettled. As a result, there was a mass outcry which caused riots of the Tanjung Palai by damaging and burning the temple and a place of worship for a Buddhist. So this is very irritating. Like it was a very harmony social community, but just one problem, and the interfere of the news and the interfere of the false news make this problem a big conflict between the society, between two groups, the Muslim community and the Chinese ethnicity. So it became like that. So as we can see, it's not religion against religion, but it was a group against a group. Because it's the fact that the religion itself, it very important for the religion to have like the tolerance. It's already exists in most of the religion that they encourage people to have tolerance, harmony. Because I think one of the important things that happen, that people doesn't differentiate between aqidah and mu'amala. We're talking about aqidah, which is the belief of the religion, which is like you follow the religion and you say tawheed, la ilaha illallah for Islam, for example. But mu'amala is different. Mu'amala means how you coexist with the people around you, how you have tolerance, how you have understanding. So when the two concepts get mixed, people will think like that. And this is happening in many societies. Many countries, some Muslims, they get the teaching from wrong sources, and they think they mix the concept of aqidah and mu'amala. They think if I don't deal with the people from if I try to avoid the people from other religions, this means that my aqidah will increase, which totally the opposite, because aqidah is based on believing in Allah. But also you have to add the mu'amala thing. With mu'amala is how you treat other people, how you respect humanity, how you respect the others, and how can you learn to coexist with different religions and different groups. This is very important concept
Miss Rania,
to be highlighted. Yes?
excuse me. Yeah, sorry for interrupting, but you have 5 minutes left. Is that
Okay,
okay?
sure.
Yeah.
Okay, sure.
Thank you.
So let's move to the next slide. Yeah, we will move to another slide because it's still news. Next slide. Yeah, let's move to the conclusion. So in a conclusion, we need to understand three things. First, harmony. And by saying harmony, it's not just like the something you see from a glass. No, it's something exists within the community. So it needs this kind of harmony to be developed, that they need to have a lot of activities together from different groups. They have to learn since schools how to coexist, how to understand each other, how to respect, how to differentiate what is aqidah and what is mu'amala, and also to have a dialogue. Having dialogue through forums or having it through activities together, or trying to have an art together, doing art and learning like hobbies together within the society, which make the society one community and not different groups. Different groups, it means like, oh, you can keep your culture, you can keep your practices, but having harmony means that we can work together, we can study together, and we can have activities together. Also, we need to be aware of the hoax and media. If we let the wrong and false news to be spread among a lot of people with no clarification by the leaders, or no clarification by the people responsible in the society, then it will make the conflicts become more and more. And it needs to be watched out through different groups, through different community and cities. Because if we see Indonesia at all, Indonesia is consists of different suku, like tribes, and different ethnicity and different religion. So it could be something positive, and it could be something negative in the same time. The positive things that you have variety, you have differences. If you live within this difference and harmony, this will lead to more productive things, and it will make Indonesia more diverse. Next. So the suggestions that we try to deliver is, first, the value of harmony should be implemented in a daily social life. Also, on the other hand, people should also reject behavior that can influence the youth. So if you raise within the society itself, they will refuse such an act. They will refuse such an act, like false news. People in Tanjong and elsewhere should conduct ways to discuss openly and honestly the disclosure on a religious harmony. More forums and activities can be done with provide a friendly and unbiased atmosphere. Next. Thank you. So, it's time for if you have any questions, and I hope the case and the study has it was clear for you. And yeah, welcome for any discussion. And yeah, I will leave the mic to the moderator.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Rania Khaled, for the very interesting presentation about what was happened in the Tanjong Balai, what was the problem, and how it goes. And Ms. Rania, please stay for the discussion and question session right after all the speakers finish the presentation.
Okay.
And now we have Mr. Ahmad El Muhammadi as our second speaker. Dr. Ahmad Al-Muhammadi is an assistant professor at the International Institute of Islamic Thought and Civilization, International Islamic University, Malaysia. Currently, he is an associate fellow at the International Center for Counter-Terrorism in The Hague. He also involved in an ongoing project to develop Malaysia's National Action Plan for Countering and Preventing Violent Extremism, initiated by the Institute of Public Security of Malaysia under the Ministry of Home Affairs. He worked closely with the Special Branch Counterterrorism Division, Royal Malaysia Police and Prison Department to implement the rehabilitation and deradicalization program for individuals detained under terrorism laws in Malaysia. He was a consultant to UNDP at 2019 and co-authored a report with Ben Schoenfeld, senior consultant at the United Nations, on the return of foreign terrorist fighters in Southeast Asia. Without any further delay, please welcome Mr. Ahmad Al-Muhammadi. Hello, sir. Hello, sir.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, very clear.
Thank you very much, moderator, for the introduction. Honorable Professor Dr. Phil Al-Makin, Rector of the Sunan Kalijaga State Islamic University, Professor Dr. Hajah Marhumah, Dean of Da'wah and Communication Faculty, Ms. Kusuma Sari Ayumtas, the co-founder of the APEC Chronicles, Vice Dean, Head of Department, faculty members, student of Sunan Kalijaga State Islamic University, distinguished participant, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat pagi and very good morning. First and foremost, I would like to take this opportunity to congratulate Sunan Kalijaga State Islamic University for taking the initiative to organize this prestigious event. I believe that this program is very timely and useful for us in the academia, and also for the student, policymakers, and practitioners in the media industries. And I also would like to thank the UIN for inviting me to speak in this webinar. So, ladies and gentlemen, this morning, I would like to speak to you about this topic. That is the media exploitation in the discourse of extremism. So in this discussion, I want to speak to you on how the terrorists exploit the media. I believe that usually, most of the time, we always talk about how the media exploit the news. But in this particular discussion today, I'm going to shift the point of view from looking from the media perspective to look at this media exploitation from the terrorist perspective themselves, meaning that how the terrorists they see themselves in the media, and what they think, what they feel, for example, and how they exploit the media to achieve their objective. Actually, I don't have any particular presentation that I would like to share with you, but I would say I would speak based on the experience that I have, and because in Malaysia here, I have the opportunity to be the expert witness in terrorism cases. So one of the things that I do was that I have to go to, first of all, I have to analyze certain terrorist materials confiscated by Malaysian authorities from the terrorists. And after that, I have to read, analyze, and write the report. And after that, I have to go to court to testify in the open courts. So I would say it's a kind of very risky job, but I think it is very important to have this kind of point of view in order to balance with the view provided by the security agencies. So in 2016, I was requested by Malaysian authorities to analyze one particular terrorist group in Malaysia. And therefore, they give me access to Telegram conversation of the terrorist groups that we have here. So it is about 600 pages of conversation that I go through and analyze and try to see the pattern of those conversations. One of the interesting facts and pattern that I can see appear in that conversation is that how they view themselves in the media. So if you are a media practitioner, if you're a journalist who are attending this talk this morning, I want to ask you to take this opportunity. If you have an opportunity to sit down with the former terrorists or with the serving terrorists, the one who is still acting or very active in the terrorism activities, you try to ask this question: how they see themselves being reported in the media, what they think and what they feel, seeing themselves being reported in the media. You might be surprised to hear the response that they would give to you, how they see themselves being reported in the media. I'm not sure whether you have this experience, but I do have this experience. After reading conversation of those terrorists in the Telegram conversation, and I went to prison for rehabilitation program, and I met with the same person that I read their conversation is in the Telegram. And I asked them again, and I asked the question, how do you see yourself being reported in the media? What do you feel? What does it feel like to be being reported widely in the social media, watching yourself appear in the TV? How does it impact you as a person? Do you know what he said? He said, sometime I don't think that, he said this, I don't think I am that big. It seems to me, he said, they make a tiger out of a cat. If you understand what I mean. Dia menjadikan saya seekor harimau daripada seekor kucing. I mean, saya sebenarnya seekor kucing saja, but they make me originally as a cat, but they make me a tiger out of that. So this kind of point of view is a very interesting, how the media reporting actually has a certain impact on the active terrorist. So one of the things that I observe definitely, whenever we look at from their perspective, is that one is, whenever I go through the conversation, one is the element of exploitation. What does that mean by exploitation? By exploitation here, I mean the terrorist organization or individual, they crave for media attention. They crave for media attention and they crave for the reporting in the media. So they would ask and they would say in the conversation, basically, they would say, let us do something today. Let us create some news and let's see what they say about us this morning. So you might be surprised whenever you read the conversation, they would say, hi, good morning, everyone. Have you read the news? And is there any report about us? What they say about us this morning? That media craving attention is very prevalent among this group. So the media reporting is very, very important for them, and they can actually exploit that publicity. They can gain the celebrity status by doing certain things. And if there is no news about it, they would say, wow, okay, this month we don't hear any news about our activities or about arresting, about news related to us. All right, that's number one. Now, number two, whenever they go to prison, now, after being arrested, definitely, they will go to the prison, and everybody in the prison would welcome, saying that, okay, welcome our celebrity, because this guy is widely being reported in the media, and they gain the status of a celebrity inside the prison. And everybody in the prison would actually give a respect to them, saying that, wow, okay, we have a very well-known person. When I go for prison for rehabilitation, and they would introduce me, sir, do you know this man? He's very, very well known outside. And of course, I have no doubt. I read about him. I went to court before for him. And of course, I read and saw and watched the news, everything about him. So, you know, when a person from nothing, from zero, I would say, from zero and becoming hero later because of the media exposure, it gives them certain boost. It gives them certain boost. It gives them certain confidence. And, they feel that they're rightly on the right place among their colleagues, among their community. So this is something that I would say an area of study that we have to look at. That is the impact of media exposure to terrorists and how they exploit this media exposure to advance their objective. And of course, whenever this kind of news is being reported widely in the media, they become well known, even though they are nothing actually. If you speak to their friends, this guy is nothing, but the news make the story so big and so huge to the extent that he achieved the level of celebrity. That's number one. Now let us shift our point of view to the position of the media practitioners. Definitely, media practitioners, they crave for the news. They crave for the news in order to report something which is explosive in nature, and they are going to prime certain items, certain news, certain pictures, certain images in order to increase, for example, the media presence or the sale or the popularity of the media. So you can see here, in one hand, we have a group of people who are crave for media attention. On the other hand, we have a group of people who actually wanted to have a news to be reported. And the victim would be the consumers, the readers. So the readers would be exposed to certain narrative, certain stories, and certain exposure. And of course, definitely, some of them or some of those readers would have positive views. They would view the news positively, and some of them would view the news negatively. Okay, so these are among the things that I would like to share with you. And in this limited time, I would like to conclude my presentation by sharing with you 3 key points. First, I do not deny that the media or traditional media or the new media, including the instant messaging platform, okay, such as WhatsApp, such as Facebook or Telegram, most popular one is actually Telegram, has a strong impact on the construction of the extremist and terrorist discourse in the world. I'm not talking only about in the context of the Southeast Asian region, whether it is in Malaysia or in Indonesia, but I'm talking about in the world, meaning that the way media presenting the news and also the way the terrorist organization or group make use or exploit the media, whether it is a traditional media or a new media, has a strong impact to the construction of the discourse. That's number one. Number two, both parties, that is the terrorist organization or individual and the media, exploit this advantage for a different purpose. I'm not sure whether you agree with me, but that's the way I see it. The terrorist organization exploit the advantage in order to be, well, achieving the level of celebrity because they're being reported widely and they amplify the news, they amplify the message, they amplify the narrative. By doing so, they make the terrorist organization and the struggle become more popular and powerful. And therefore, by doing so, it will attract more audience and attention from the public. On the other hand, we also have a news media outlet who report certain things because they crave for the news, and therefore they are in business together, if I may put it. Well, it's no offense to the media practitioner, but I would say both of them benefit from this situation. All right. And well, I would say the consumers are stuck in the middle, and some of them, as I said, would view positively and would view the news negatively. And my final point is that only small number of people know the truth. The truth about the extent of threats, the level of involvement, the level of operation, the nature of the group is only known to certain group of people, which is small in number. And who are they? One is the intelligence agency. They would know the truth. They would know the fact that, okay, to what extent this group is a threat, because they have very effective intelligence who are able to penetrate into the group. That's number one. Number two is the terrorists themselves. They know their strength, they know their advantage, and they know their disadvantage. So the rest of the people, the public, wouldn't know anything except what is exposed and what is being shared and reported by the media, whether it is traditional or the new media. I stop here and I thank you very much for your attention and opportunity.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ahmad, for sharing your impressive presentation with us. Please stay because at this very moment, I will open the question and answer session. To the audience, please drop your question on the chat room or raise your hands if you want to ask directly, and don't forget to mention your name, your institution, and then the question. Okay, we have Mr. NS Manurung.
Yes.
Okay, sir, can ask directly now.
All right. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much for the opportunity given to me to raise a question at the first turn. And I'm really grateful for Universitas Islam Negeri Yogyakarta for conducting this very important seminar. And first of all, my question is to Sister Rania. Is the name right? The first speaker.
Yes, it
All
is
right.
Miss Rania.
All right. I'm very happy actually because the city that she researched is my own city where I was born and grew up. And also I did my research on the issue, but very unfortunate that I did not publish the research due to the the loss of information that we collected, because at the time we we recorded the information from the police, from the some of the public figures over there, but unfortunately the record was missing. So that's why we did not publish the research. First thing, I hope that Sister Rania is still here. The composition of the society that he mentioned in his in her presentation, actually, I beg to differ a little bit because he said that the majority is Malay, but I'm doubt about that one. But if he said, she said that culturally that the people over there are practicing the Malay traditions, that is, I'm sure I agree 100%, because the Batak people, most of them are also, most of the Batak people are Muslims, but they are practicing the Malay traditions. It's just like me. My name is Manurung here. I'm a Muslim, and then I'm Batak. But all the tradition that we practice is just like what is practiced in Malaysia. So I'm saying that culturally, people over there, even the Japanese people and Madras people, they are, when they were born over there, they become like a Malay. That's why we call it over there Puja Kusuma, Putra Jawa, kelahiran Sumatra, means that they are Javanese originally, but practically they are already become like a Malay. This is the first thing that I would like to, not to correct, but I think to look into this issue. Because I said the composition over there, mostly I'm sure there are Batak, they are Batak, but the what call this, the religion they practice is Muslims. And the culture they are practice also, they are what call this, belong to Malay tradition. This is one thing. The second thing, I think the findings that or the conclusion that the sister reached, I think need to be also to be reviewed, because it seems that the cause of the issue is simply she attributed it to what call this a kind of hoax, and then what do call this, the what call the degree of tolerance is less, and so forth and so on. If Sister Rania, did a research, she may see there is a mosque, a big mosque. We call it Masjid Raya. There is a Masjid Raya, and in front of that Masjid Raya, or the surrounding of the Masjid Raya, all are Chinese. And even there is what we call this, in front of the Masjid Raya, there is a place where Chinese people used to what call this to observe their prayers of what call this for the funeral. So I think we don't have actually the problem of religious tolerance over there, because I myself, I said I was born there. In front of my house is a church, and then a mosque. And also there were multi ethnicities. They are Chinese, and we live happily, and everything is okay. So what I'm trying to say is that the problem sometimes, you said there is a political agenda. That is one of the things. And the second thing is that the problem with the what call this, a kind of something that is already so long is hidden in the heart of the people over there. So the what call this, the local people seems to be not respected by the Chinese. The Chinese people over there, they are not mixed with the local people. Especially these Chinese people, they are owner of the shop. They sometimes when you go to their shop, sometimes they utter some word that is very respectable. So people sometimes keep this kind of hatred, this kind of feeling in their heart. And if these Chinese people do many many of their what call this activities, they are, because they have money, they can buy also sometimes the police and all this kind of thing.
Mr.
So
Manurung, please go straight to the question.
So this is my, I would like to correct a little bit the
Okay.
conclusion of the Sister Rania, because I'm afraid that it's going to be misled, because he didn't look at the other factors that caused that kind of riot. We can call it as a riot, because, and I agree 100% with what Dr. Al Muhammadi. I'm sure this is the son of Sheikh Al Marhum Osman Muhammadiyah. He is my teacher. I'm very much what call this grateful, and may Allah bless him and forgive his sins. So my question is that I hope that Sister Rania is the first one, is that look at the other factors that can cause that riots, because I'm sure that is not a single factor. As you said, there is a kind of social social inequality in terms of economics, and also as she said, also there is a political agenda of some people, and then do it irrespected irrespected attitude from the Chinese people. This is one point. The second point, I would like to ask the question to a very interesting presentation from Dr. Al Muhammadi. I am sure that this is also something probably the media practitioners probably never think about it before. It's just like that. The terrorists, they are happy to be to be center news, and this kind of thing is very interesting. There is a point that I would like to ask to Dr. Al-Muhammadi. What do you think, Doctor, if these people, the so-called terrorists, because the problem also sometimes that these terrorists are they are what call this, we call it trial by press. Even they are not verdicted, they are not even given what call this, not yet brought to the court, but they have already been what call this, verdicted to be guilty. So this is another thing. So the question that I would like to raise and to pose to Dr. Al-Muhammadi is that, what do you think, Doctor, if these terrorist people or the so-called terrorists, they repented, they come back to the society, and they would like to join the society, they want to do da'wah, they want to establish parties, they want to do many social what call this activities, are they allowed to do so? Or they are not allowed to do so because of their past background? Because the problem is that we can see now in our society that there are probably those people who would like to join the society because their mind probably have been what call this, brainwashed and to be written again to the pure Islam, and then they would like to join to the society, do da'wah, do raise fund and all this kind of thing. But yet, because they are formally linked to the terrorist organization, then they still, that image is still with them. That even the authorities sometimes perceive them as a threat. That is my question, and thank you very much for the the organizer and all the presenters. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. To Rania and Mr. Ahmad Al-Muhammadi, maybe you can both answer one by one for now directly. Thank you.
Okay, so first of all, thank you, Mr. Manurung, if I say the name right. And it's very interesting that we have someone from the city itself. So I'm glad to hear also from you.
Thank you. I'm also glad to be researched by you.
So first of all, yeah, we were talking about the harmony of the society. So I don't think we have a big difference on like what I said and what you are saying, because I was mentioning that the community in Tanjong Palai is already having a harmony. There was no conflicts between like the society itself, and the problem is not based on religion. The problem is not for the religion, but the problem was like some personal attitudes of the people, and also like the political agenda, with also the influence of the social media and the false news that was shared that triggered people and make them more angry. So and also for the community itself, and it's a perspective. So each research sometimes is like a perspective. And we are trying to see from the general perspective and the general of the community. Like, so you were taking from the perspective of the Batak, like the Chinese, the problem between the Batak and the Chinese. It was like there was like a hidden problem or hidden thing that the community, like the Batak people, feel that the Chinese people, they are not like they're not like collaborating with the society, and they're not entering with that. But this is a perspective. So maybe when you're trying to conduct your research, and we hope we see your research be published soon, you can focus on the point. But the purpose of the research is to see from all perspective, from all ethnicity, and to search for the solutions, for the future solutions. So we were suggesting that the community need to have a table where they have a dialogue together. So every ethnicity, every group will speak up for each other. So if we say, thinking from the Batak perspective, we will see that the Chinese people, they're not trying to communicate and to collaborate with the society and be part with the other group, and they're trying to make a divided group from each other. But if we see from the Chinese perspective, we will see them, they feel the society will not accept them, the society see them like that. So this is about the perspective of the people. So I think that's why it needs a dialogue. It needs people to speak up. So the Chinese will talk about what they are afraid from, what makes them don't collaborate, what don't make them like collaborate with the society and communicate with society. And also the Batak will talk about why what makes them angry from the Chinese, and they feel that the Chinese need to respect them more and to be part of the society. That's the importance of the dialogue. That's the importance of to speak up. That's the important also to have activities that make them come together. These activities can be art, these activities can be like public speaking, these activities can be forums, these activities can be anything that can make them together away from politics, away from differences, away from different religious background, away from different ethnic group. If this kind of activities can be taken and this kind of activities can be held and make the society come together, and if they speak up about what they make feel them insecure from the other group, what makes them insecure and have this kind of barrier to come together and to be one group. So the thing is, the conflict that happened in 2016 was just a trigger of like before problems that was hidden and people didn't speak up.
Yeah,
this
Rania, if you remember before the accident happened, there was a big statue of Buddha was there. Did you research on that one?
Yeah, you will find
over there, and then the community asked them to put it down, but the Chinese community, they did not want it. So, and then because it said that the big statue was there directed to the Qibla, and then the people over there, as you said, they are religious, they didn't want to pray as if that they pray toward that statue. So that already the dialogue, but the Chinese community didn't want to put it down until the right happened, and then when the right happened, the statue was put down. If you see the link, all the things are there. And then, as I said, that the Chinese community, you are right, because I also interview some of the Chinese over there, even the what call this the organizer of the temple. We said, why do not want to mingle, integrate with the community? Because they said they always sometimes to be like a kind of their financial sources. So they also ask money from them, and I mean, all the people take money from them. That's why they didn't want to, as you said, they feel insecure. So things you are at this point, you are right. But I think I said, well, this community also have to, you know, as in many other societies, should integrate with the local society so that that can be what call this. Because we don't have such kind of problem probably in Surabaya. Even the Chinese in Surabaya, they speak Japanese. But in Medan and in Tanjong Malay, sometimes they are Chinese, did not speak even Indonesia. Okay, that's okay. Go ahead. Thank you very much for your presentation.
Yeah, you're welcome. So I hope I clarified the problem, that thing. But I don't think we are talking in a different aspect or talking about different things. We are talking about the same thing. So there is not a big difference. It's the same thing I want to deliver. So
okay, thank you very much. I hope that your presentation will publish. I would like to read it, but I hope that, that you go a bit deeper so that we do not see the factor, only one single factor, that is because of the hoax, but there is another social factor, political factor.
Yeah, of course, there's other factors, and this is also mentioned in the research.
Thank you.
Yeah, welcome.
All right. Where is the moderator?
Okay, Mr. Ahmad can continue answer the question from Mr. Manur.
Thank you very much, moderator. Thank you very much, Pak Manurung. It is a pleasure for me to meet with you here.
Thank you.
I do not have opportunity to meet you in person, but I believe that, yeah, we used to cross path somewhere here in Malaysia, and you said that you met with
I was also a mistake before, Doctor.
I see. You are welcome. You are welcome. You are welcome to join, to come back to check, because
thank you very much. I'm very glad to see you here.
I am too. Yeah, it is likewise. I would like to respond to first question asked by Ahmad Sulvi, who are asking about the possible collaboration between Indonesian people there, and also here in Malaysia. my response to that question is that it is a very, very good suggestion, because actually those people who have this extremist narrative, they share materials, similar material. Actually, they share the same material. And the material that it is published in Indonesia, they also share with Malaysian counterpart here through Telegram, for example, through Facebook and through WhatsApp and so on. There are many books that I analyze based on the what being confiscated by Malaysian authorities here, actually being translated in Indonesia, and they bought the book and they use it here in Malaysia. So if we talk about the collaboration, it is a very, very fantastic idea. But I want to go a little bit further, suggesting that we can do this by creating a small group of people who are able to detect the presence of people in social media platform, for example, and try to engage with the discussion. I call this the Intervention and Rehabilitation Group, IRG. So the concept of intervention and rehabilitation is actually happened before radicalization, full-blown radicalization took place, meaning that before they engage deeper into militant activities. We can invite them for a discussion, we can invite them for a dialogue, and there we can do the intervention so that they do not go further and involve in militant activities. So that is my suggestion for the Ahmad Sulbi's question. Now we go to the question by Pak Manurun just now, was asking me two questions. Number one is about the possibility of people, engage in the people who are arrested, they been stigmatized because of the publicity given by the media. I agree with you, Pak. The media exposure to the news regarded or related to terrorism is very impactful, not only to the public, but also to the militant themselves and also to their families. So meaning that they were being stigmatized by the society before they were being found guilty of what they have done. So I think this is the problem that we have to overcome. We have to overcome this problem, because whenever you get arrested for terrorism charges, regardless of whether you are guilty or not guilty, but the society has already passed the judgment that you are terrorists.
This is what happened to now in our society, Doctor.
It's widely happened.
Just recently arrested.
Exactly. And I would like to share with you one small anecdote or story. This one Malaysian who were detained by Malaysian police because of the terrorism charges. And he has a very small children who are going to school, like 5 years old. And then his friend, the friend of that boy, whenever they got quarrel with that boy, and he said that, you know that your father is pengganas, your father bapak kamu pengganas. He said to the small children, and that small children does not know anything. What does that mean? And he went back home and asked, Ibu, kenapa kawan kata saya bapak kita pengganas? So it's happened because of the media reporting. So that is the impact. So in Malaysia, therefore, yeah, Pak, and all the audience here, in Malaysia, Malaysian police, they decided not to report a lot about terrorism cases. If there is an arrest taking place, I mean, I'm talking about the situation now, they prefer not to report to the media, because number one, that would actually create a stigma on the people, and also to give an ammunition to the media to report something and to amplify that news and to scare people unnecessarily. So that is number one. Number two, about the possibility of them joining back to the society. In Malaysia, I do not see that problem, because we have, for example, somebody like Yazid Sufaat. He is a very well-known, he is a good friend of, for example, Dr. Azahari and Nordin Maktop. He was working together with both of them. And also he knows Ustaz Abu Bakar Ba'ashir, Sulaiman Aman Abdul Rahman, and he knows a lot of people in Indonesia. He was recently released after 2 years. Now he is back in our Malaysian society. He now running a charity works, mean that he organized a charity work. He bought the stuff from the shopping mall and distribute to the needies, to the families who are not able to have a proper meal, food, and he was very helpful. So he is now working closely with other organization, other individual, and sometimes the authorities, the police also join him and go around the city and distributing foods and also stuff. So the way I see it, it is not a problem. And in my view, we have to support these people who were out from prison, and we have to give them a proper encouragement, a proper support, so that they can stay in that kind of work and do not get involved in militancy again. And the last question from Rumaiza was asking about, does fame empower the terrorists to further amplify their work and damage done to the society? Yes, it is undeniably that the fame that they receive from media reporting actually empower them to some extent. That's why I said they enjoy reading about themselves in the media. They really enjoy it. And actually their friends also enjoy it, because they see that, okay, what they say about us today. So I think that one is amplify their work, give them motivation. And of course, if representation and misrepresentation is done by the media, it may bring damage to the society, and it contribute to discourse of extremism in very, very negative way. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Doctor.
My pleasure, sir.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you, Mr. Ahmad. And now we will open the question again. Please raise your hands or drop the question at the chat room. Okay, I will inform everyone here that I just dropped some links about the presentation of Trey Toledo and Mr. Ahmad Patel from the day one. Maybe you can save it now. And also some links from the presentation that he was mentioned yesterday. Okay, you want to ask a question? Hello, Dr. Hello, Mr. Ahmad. I didn't know. How about the prison? I mean, could you please explain more about the prison and how the terrorists see why they become famous from the media side? Like even more, maybe it was very interesting, at least for me. Could you please explain more about it a little? Until
Yeah.
we have
Yes.
another question.
I can see the response from them based on two experience that I have. As I said, number one is based on my reading of their conversation in the Telegram. So when I look at what they see and what they say about themselves in the Telegram conversation, they enjoy, as I said, they enjoy it. And whenever there is no news, when there is no news about them, they would say, let us do something. Let us do something to scare the people. Let us do something to give them warning, for example. And let's see what the news says about us and what they says about us. And what I can see here is that sometimes the reporting is not representing the fact. It's not representing what is the reality, but what is the perception of the journalists and reporters and also the public about them, about the militant. So actually, they are not that big. They are not that powerful. They are not that dangerous in the sense that they have the capability of causing harm to the public, causing harm to the society. But the media portray them in that way. And interestingly, they do not refute that, whether it is a right or wrong. They do not refute that. They just, okay, let it be. Let it be. We become famous. So I remember meeting with one very shy person, and very introvert person, I would say, in prison. And everybody in the prison say that, do you know that he's very famous? He is a very famous outside there. He was in the TV, he was in the media, and he was like a very huge, you know, in public. So the his public image is bigger than his actual size. He is physically small, but in the media he is so big and powerful. So everybody in the prison would view him that way, to the extent that when he walked on the corridor, everybody give him space. Okay, give him the way. And he is a very dangerous, you know, you guys just only rob the bank. And so these people, they cut people throats. So that's what they say about this particular shy kind of boy. So by doing so, it gives them a kind of boost, it gives them a kind of self-confidence for them to do what they're doing. But of course, sometimes it's also affect them in a very negative way, because definitely, as you know, they also have families, they have children. So whenever their name is published and in the news, and everybody would know that this family involved in militancy, that would affect the family. I remember one family whose brother and also his elder brother and his younger brother involved in militancy, and he was one of them was died in Syria, the other one is in prison. And he has a little sister, and her sister is doing business. Whenever the one customer, so she is selling something, but whenever the customer look at her name and notice that her name is similar with the person that the customer read in the news associating with militancy, the customer canceled the order. So she told me that it is very difficult for me to do business because people thought that I am the family of a terrorist, so they do not want anything to do with me. So it's affect them very negatively. And they also have children who has the similar name, and that would affect the children's well-being, psychology as well. So I would say, in one hand, it would give a positive impact as well as the negative impact as well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ahmad. Does that mean that publication is kind of a very good tools for getting you followers too, I think?
Yeah.
And about Miss Rania and Mr. Ahmad, there is one more question from Ahmad Sufi to Miss Rania and Mr. Ahmad.
Okay.
How Indonesia and Malaysia can collaborate to detection and against radicalism and terrorism?
Yeah, I think I have addressed that question by Ahmad just now, and I think Rania, I love to listen to your presentation. It's a very wonderful job, and I hope you continue doing what you do. And it is very interesting to hear somebody from outside, from Egypt, if I'm not mistaken, you are from.
Yes.
Yeah. So somebody from far away from Egypt try to understand the culture, which is completely different from Egypt. And I think that she would give an added value to the perspective and understanding about the local culture. I think you you still do not respond to the question by the person here, Anas. I think Ahmad Sulbi just now.
So, Mr. Ahmed, thank you so much for the interpretation about my presentation, and I was also like glad to hear the discussion from you and to know about the perspective about the tourism in Malaysia and how you can have like actually it's a new perspective that we can hear how tourist people see themselves in the media. It was something very new to me, to be honest, and also it's very interesting. For the questions, first of all, I guess it's not only be collaboration between Malaysia and Indonesia. It would be great if it could be between all Muslim countries, because we are facing this all together. It's something very like common to us, and we are one ummah. So it will be like a good chance for us to collaborate in something like that, because whenever happens something tourism, people will also attack all the Muslims. And to be honest, I was shocked sometimes that people perceive that the Arab is the tourist. So even Muslims that in other countries, they perceive that Arab are extremists and tourists, and they see that anything come from Arab is extremism. I faced some situation like this where people think from this perspective, and they think that the Arab culture is very strict and very extreme, and even they see Egypt like as the same way like that. But I think that's why we need to have more forums, and we have more activities that combine all the Muslims together from different countries, and that we need to understand that we are one ummah. And extremism is not, it doesn't come from a country, it doesn't come from the religion, it comes from some people and some political agenda, hidden agenda. So if we understand this concept, and if we try to work together and collaborate together, and we don't see ourselves that we have to whenever there's a terroristic attack, we have to come and explain ourselves, because the religion is very explained, and we understand that Islam is about tolerance. It's about being al-Islam wasati. It's not extremism. So I don't for extremism, I don't consider them. They are like something in Islam. Like extremism is not something included in Islam. It's something so far away from Islam. So they are not representing Islam. This is a very important thing to understand. So I think between Indonesia and Malaysia, there could be a lot of collaboration, because Indonesia and Malaysia community, they are super like similar and familiar to each other. They speak almost the same language with different accent. They have like the diversity in the religion, the diversity in ethnicity. So they have a lot of things in common. So this is make them have a big chance to collaborate together in such a thing. But also it would be great if it's not only Indonesia and Malaysia, but also other Muslim countries that can contribute in that thing. It would be very great. And of course, there is a chance for something like that. Of course, we can be strong together, and we can come together and solve this question, and we can contribute in like the media image, because the media image is very important, and it's the outsider of us. Like this is what people perceive. So we get misperceived a lot in many countries, and we get like stereotype, and we get like something like racism from other countries. So if we work it in our media, if we work it in our activities, if we solve these kind of things, I think we can overcome a lot of problems, and we can have more powerful and more powerful community, Muslim community. So I think this is my suggestion.
Do we still have a time? Yes.
Yes.
I would like to share another perspective regarding the media reporting as well. I believe that some countries taking different approach when it comes to dealing with returnees from Syria. Malaysia is among the country that is deciding to repatriate its citizen back to Malaysia, and they are going to face, number one, persecution for the male returnees, and for the female returnees, they are going to go through rehabilitation. But let me share with you one important point, that when you look at the news reporting about the returnee, some of the news actually is not well balanced, in the sense that they always portray those returnees would be a threat to national security. I think we have to revisit this kind of perspective, or revisit this kind of perception, because I believe that those people who are stuck in Syria, for example, those people who are in Al-Hawl camp or An-Roj camp, many of them actually female and also children. So I believe that on the humanitarian ground, on the religious and moral obligation, it is important for the country to take them back to the society and rehabilitate them. It is very actually shameful for Muslim countries, for example, countries who do not want to bring them back here for whatever reason. I mean, some people say that for the security reason, but many European countries bring them back and put them in rehabilitation. And I think that as a Muslim country, and we have to take them back and we have to put them through rehabilitation, and we cannot allow them or leave them behind and let them suffer the consequences, because those people who are suffer are children. Are we going to let them suffer? I mean, those children, or we want to bring them back here and do something about it. So I think that's my view, and I hope that Indonesia and also Malaysia is starting again the program of repatriation to bring back the citizen to their countries. That's my opinion. I believe that other people may disagree with me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ahmad, about that was what we discussed like a few days ago, I think. And anyone, if you want to ask another question to Mr. Ahmad or Miss Rania, please drop to the chat room or raise your hands. I think the case in Tanjong Balai was a very viral case that time. And I just like
Hello, moderator. Can I ask something for Mr. Ahmad?
Oh, yes, please.
Okay. Later. Moment. Mr. Ahmad, the media does not have the power in creating terror. Media with a social awareness is like a knife, whose use depend on human, so that the terror can be made by human using the media. Also, like in WhatsApp and so on. There are many cases in Indonesia where people often terrorize with different with different goal. There is personal, religious, racial, and group people. Also, Mr. Ahmad, that I give information that Indonesia and Malaysia already have cooperation in detecting radicalism, especially terrorism. We have evidence that the rise of some terrorists in Indonesia sometimes come from information from Malaysia. This is my comment, little comment about your information. Thank you for your collaboration also in our discussion international seminar in KPI district, communication and broadcasting Islamic broadcasting in our campus. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. If I may respond to the question.
Yes.
I agree with you on the point that yes, the media is just like a knife that you can use for for a certain purpose. Yes, definitely. I agree with you on that point. But as I said, media do not make terrorists. They do not have power to do so. It is a very, very good point that you mentioned. But the terrorists always exploit the media to amplify their voices and to exploit the exposure and the opportunity that they have in order to reach the target group. So in one hand, here we can see that terrorists is exploiting the media because why? Because media also need the news in order to report something. So by having this kind of in a mutual dependence, in one hand, the terrorists need media and the media also need the news. They can actually create a discourse for the public. So that's what I mean. I do not mean that the terrorist is, the media is creating the terrorists. They are not actually, but they being used in one hands, and they also, they are actually in mutual dependence, both sides. However, it's really much depend on how the news is crafted, how the news is reported, because sometimes there was misrepresentation by the news agency about them. There is a priming, there is an agenda setting there. So I think these are what we are worrying about. Thank you very much for your contribution, and it is my pleasure to be here sharing my thought with you.
Okay, welcome.
Okay, any other question?
If I may ask one question more to Dr. Al-Muhammadi, is it possible?
Yes, please.
It's still possible. Yeah, Alhamdulillah. Thank you very much. I just want to fill the gap, yeah, so that the forum is alive. To Dr. Al-Muhammadi, actually, so many questions that I have regarding what you have just presented, because some of the things that you presented for me is new. Firstly, as you said that these terrorists, they love to be seen on the media. That it seems that their target is just to what we call it, really to make a terror. It is to make people fear about the things. So actually, it is not just that what they want, to achieve certain goals, like, for instance, establishing the so-called the Islamic State, or establishing whatever it is that they want. So from what you just presented, it seems that the goals or the objective of this terrorists is really terror. That is to make people fearful, to make people worry about. So actually, things that is not as bad as probably people imagine. So the imagination sometimes is worse than the reality. So this is the first thing. So based on your your experience, on your interview with these terrorists, do they really want to establish a certain things that they believe that it is so fixed that it cannot be changed, or how is it actually? Because is this just simply really, the meaning of the terror itself, that is to make people fear, or they really want to do something? Yeah, meaning to say that like establishing Islamic State, and then all the terrorists that you said, like Yazid Shufa'at that you mentioned, why they can, become such like a people that are very fearful. People are fear of them. Sometimes they have the religious background, for instance. They probably before studied in religion, but they have a kind of a view, or a kind of an opinion of something that is different from the mainstream that people believe. So then how they can become like return back to the mainstream. And then here in Indonesia also there is one person by the name Natsir, if I am mistaken. And then the problem, people sometimes doubt about this guy, because whether this guy is really before was terrorist, or he was actually part of the intelligence that is penetrated to the terrorist group, and then he was brought to the society, and then he gave the information to to what call this about all these things that is happening within that organization. So if Dr. Muhammadi, based on experience, engaging with this issue, can you enlighten us about the issue? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. It is very interesting question that you are asking. In fact, I would say this kind of question is only come from the person who really familiar with the issue, or somebody who is seriously researching on this. As a matter of fact, Pak Manurung, that was exactly the question I asked Yazid Shufaat and everybody else in the prison. I said, do you think that your work of doing this would change the outcome? Do you think that by shooting here, bombing here, and then labeling people as takfir, as tawhud, as arbab, and that, and so on and so forth, might change the outcome, and you will be able to create an Islamic state?
Right.
Well, as a matter of fact, they don't have this answer. They don't have this kind of answer. They do not have the answer. They say that, well, I think that I don't have that plan, but I just do whatever possible that I can do right now. So to some extent, I just want to scare them. I just want to make a point that, okay, look, we are ready to die for the sake of our struggle.
Oh, I see.
All right, so that was the objective, because if you look at the group, I always use this argument. I said, in my view, I told them, in my view, if you want to perform jihad, jihadu fi sabilillah, as mentioned in the Quran, wajahidu billahi haqqa jihadi, the jihad with the true and authentic jihad, you have to follow the jihad just like what the Prophet did. What is that the Prophet did? The Prophet did the jihad with the clarity of objective, with the clear objective, with the clear target, with the clear time frame, with a very, very thorough discussion and shura among themselves. And the decision of jihad is made by the highest authority in the country, not by individual like you. So I said, if that decision is made and if that situation is considered, then it can be the authentic jihad. But if the declaration of jihad is made by group, by individual, by a person, this is a break, or this is the abuse of amanah, because you have taken over the authority of the ruler, of the leader, and you make a declaration, and it's going to impact large number of people. Jihad is something very serious. It's involved the life of the people. It's involved the peace, the harmony, the blood, the right. It's not a joke. So if I said to them, like, if you want to see the actual jihad, you can see the jihad which is done by other Afghan people against the Soviet. The Afghan people achieve victory against the Soviet to push them out from the country. The enemy is very clear. The objective is very clear: for the sake of religion, for the sake of the people, for the sake of the land, for the sake of the soil. However, you see what happened whenever the Soviet was out from Afghanistan and you are quarreling with one another, the victory is short-lived. Other country will come back again and invade Afghanistan. And Afghanistan was being under different under foreign occupation for another 20 years. Only recently the Taliban is back and try to rule themselves by the Afghan. And the second one is in Bosnia. In Bosnia as well, we can call it as the true jihad, because it is done for the sake of the land, to defend their country, to defend their religion, to defend their people. That's fine. I said, you cannot achieve Islamic state. You cannot establish Islam on the basis of injustice. You cannot establish Islam on the basis of violence. So that is the message to them. If you start establishing Islam on the basis of violence, it will not last long. You look at ISIS, you look at what Jamaah Islamiyah did in Bali, in Jakarta, and in many parts of Indonesia. This is not an Islamic way of doing jihad. So that was my message to them. And I think that by having this kind of dialogue, we can open up their mind.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Ahmad, do you have like I mean this question. Why terrorists in Malaysia in 1930 moved to Indonesia, like who in make terror in Bali, in Jakarta. This who from, I mean, Indonesian, but they educated sometimes in Malaysia, then make terror in Indonesia. Do you have a perspective about this? Why?
Yeah, thank you very much, Pak Ahmad. It's a very, very interesting question. In my view, it's happened like that because, number one, they decided not to use Malaysia to strike terror. For them, Malaysia is only to raise fund, to recruit people, and to establish business so that they can have a lot of money. The operation, the theater of operation is not in Malaysia, but in Indonesia. There are three reasons why they choose Indonesia. One, because of the Pancasila. They do not like Pancasila. And for them, Pancasila is the Taghut system that need to be replaced by the Sharia. This is the idea of DII, this is the idea of NII, and also this is the idea of Jamaah Islamiyah. That's number one.
Okay.
Number two, because of the intelligence. And in Indonesia, I believe that the intelligence is not as strong as in Malaysia. In Malaysia, we have the intelligence operative in every district, in every sector of society. Everything that moves in the country here in Malaysia is in the knowledge of the intelligence agency. So that is the strength of Malaysia have. That's number two. I'm speaking honestly, Pak Ahmad, based on my observation, based on my experience. That this is what I have seen.
Just like in Singapore, probably, yeah?
In Indonesia and in Singapore as well. And number three, Indonesia has one advantage as compared with other countries in the region. Other countries do not have this particular advantage that Indonesia has, the freedom. Indonesia provide and accorded freedom to all its citizens and also to other people. And this freedom actually is good if they are using in a correct way. But unfortunately, this kind of freedom you cannot find in Malaysia, you cannot find in Indonesia, you cannot find in Singapore, in Brunei, and other part of the region, but you can find this in Indonesia. And therefore, Indonesia is a perfect place for them to do whatever they want in there, because they have abused the freedom and democratic rights that the government, that the ruler has accorded to the people. I call this the abuse of democracy. And because of these things, it leads to number four, it gives Indonesia trouble and security problem. So if I want to, well, inform the Indonesian counterpart, number one, we have to improve the intelligence works in there. And number two is to keep monitoring the activities so that we can prevent before it's happened. So I think that's exactly what Malaysia is doing here. And it has proven effective. Thank you, Pak.
Okay. You said number one is Pancasila make reject by jihadist. It is other alternative in your country. What if Indonesia have Pancasila, so Malaysia, what you have? How to make religious harmony in this country?
Well, I cannot give a proper analysis about the situation in Indonesia because Indonesia has a very unique history, pre-independence era, because of the emergence of movement like the Darul Islam Indonesia, DII, NII, and so on. You have a long history of that. And there was a big fight between the group, Kartosoewirjo, and then the group of Darul Islam. In Malaysia, we do not have that kind of situation. Whenever we gain independence, we install democracy as a system. Of course, here in Malaysia, there are people who reject democracy too. For example, Hizb ut-Tahrir, they hate democracy. They hated democracy so much. And number two, we also have group just like what we have in Indonesia, Jamaah Islamiyah. They say that democracy is the representation of Taghut system. And they say that Indonesia as well, they have Taghut system. So that was their perception. However, in the context of Malaysia, they do not go to the extent of carrying the attack, just like what they did in Indonesia. And I say it's happened because of the control of the intelligence work. So I think that's how it's happened. So whenever we talk about religious harmony, definitely I would say the intervention from the government to bring people together, even though they have differences. Of course, they have a Chinese there, we have a Christian, we have Hindus and Buddhas and Muslim. But the level of conflict is not as serious as in other places, because there is no physical conflict. It's just like a verbal expression conflict level.
Okay.
And it is settled through mediation, dialogue, not to the using of violence and physical ones.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Ahmad, for your.
Moderator, may I ask another question if it is possible?
No, unfortunately, unfortunately, we have to close the discussion and question session.
From Dr. Muhammadi, abuse of power, abuse of democracy is very interesting. This is actually the question that I put at the beginning. If Dr. Ahmadi may grasp my point at the first question, actually that is the what you call this. I want to direct my question actually to that point, the abuse of democracy, as you said. Because what I'm trying to say is that these people, the so-called terrorists, is said recently by one of the what you call this members of the PIN here, said that these terrorists now they're trying to form a kind of political what you call this party that try to do this and this is my question: do they have a right to do all this kind of activities, even if before they are what you call this, they are linked with the terrorist group? Now, this is actually my question. Are they allowed to participate in the political freedom, political democracy, establish the parties, going to the parliament and all this kind of thing? This is actually the point that I would like to raise to Dr. Muhammadi. Thank you. That's all.
Okay, short answer, Dr. Muhammad.
Thank you very much. I would be very short. You have two choices now. You have two choices. Whether you want to ban them from participating in democratic process, they will go underground and involved in violence. But if you allow them to work in the open, to work in the democratic process, to use constitutional means, you still have the opportunity to talk to them, to engage with them. And I believe by doing so, you can actually make an impact on them, even though maybe it's not big, but it would impact them in some way, especially when you have continued communicating with them from time to time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Very brilliant.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
Okay. Unfortunately, I have to close this discussion and question session. And now I would like to ask Ms. Rania and Mr. Ahmad to give the closing speech before we back to the Master of Ceremony. We can start from Ms. Rania first and then followed by Mr. Ahmad.
Okay. Thank you very much for letting me participating in the seminar today. It was a pleasure for me to be part here, and I learned a lot. Also, like I really learned a lot from Mr. Ahmad, and it was really great to hear his discussion and the questions that was asked here. And I'm being able to share about the article. Also, I would like to thank Hamdan for letting me participate in his research. He's not with us today because of his schedule, but his research, like the research was like collaboration between both of us, and I was just participating in both of us side. Thank you very much, and terima kasih banyak. Saya senang ketemu sama semuanya dan ikut seminar hari ini. Semoga ilmu yang dapat hari ini bermanfaat dan akan ikut sama teman-teman di KPI. Terima kasih.
Okay, Mr. Ahmad, you can give your closing speech.
Yes, thank you very much, moderator, for the opportunity. I would like to take this opportunity to thank the Sunan Kalijaga State Islamic University for organizing this event. I would say it is a very wonderful engagement. This is one of the most memorable event and exchange that I have with participants, with the rich discussion, with the rich feedback, and a very, very, very wonderful presentation by Ms. Rania Khaled. And I benefit a lot also from the discussion and exchange. And I would like to say as a final point that I hope that this kind of discussion, especially regarding the role of media, will continue to happen. And I look forward to attending more discussion for the program organized by the Sunan Kalijaga State Islamic University. And I also want to thank Kusumasari, the co-founder of the APEC Chronicle, for inviting me to this event. And I wish to thank you again also for the participant for your participation. Thank you. I look forward to meet you again. Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam
Waalaikumsalam
warahmatullahi
wabarakatuh.
Okay, thank you for Mr. Ahmad and Ms. Rania for the participation in this webinar. I hope we can continue the collaboration. Thank you once again to all of our speakers today and also to all the audiences. I would like to invite Mas Febri and Mbak Caca to close this webinar. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much to our distinguished invited speakers for the prodigious presentation and Mrs. Tias for guiding this plenary session. Ladies and gentlemen, the next agenda is closing speech, which also wrap our webinar today. This closing speech will be delivered by Head of Department Communication and Islamic Broadcasting, Faculty of Dawah and Communication, to Mr. Nanang Miswar Hashim, SOS MSI. The time is yours.
Thank you, Mrs. Caca. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin. Wa bi nasta'in wa ala umuri waddin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala asyrofil anbiya'i wal mursalin. Sayyidina Maulana Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in. First of all, I would like to say thank you very much to Rector of Sunan Kalijaga Islamic State University, Prof. Al-Makin, and Dean Dakwah and Communication Faculty, Prof. Marhumah MPD, who has supported this international webinar. Secondly, a lot thankful to all speakers, Dr. Clark Jones from Australia, Andrea Toledo from Filipina, Ahmad Patel from United Kingdom, Ahmad Al-Muhammadi from Malaysia, and Hamdan Nowley, also Rania Khaled from Mesir and Indonesia. Thank you for the really effective and interesting presentation in this webinar. We all know that the terrorism and radicalism become our enemy as the world society will miss the peace. I think we also agree that terrorism is not a product of any religion. So start from now, stop taking terrorism action as a representation of some religions. In this thing, media has important role to overcome that stigma. We hope that the world society can live in harmony with the existence of multiculturalism. Last but not least, all of from Department of Communication and Islamic Broadcast asks all the parties to be the agent of peace in our environment. See you again on the next event, and special thanks to all amazing communities who organized very well for this event. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much to Mr. Nanang Miswar Hashim for the amazing speech. Ladies and gentlemen, finally, we come to the end of this agenda. But before we close this agenda, we'd like to remind you to fill the link in attendance that will given through the chat room To all participants, please do not leave the room first and turn on your camera because we will take a picture together. And to the committee, please handle this photo session. To all ladies and gentlemen, please turn on your camera and give your best pose. Okay. First slide. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Next slide. For the next slide. Ready? 1, 2, 3. And the next slide. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Next slide. Smile. 1, 2, 3. Yeah. Next slide. Right. Thank you very much to the committee, and thank you very much for joining this webinar today. I am Salsabila Syeda Azhara and Febri Aldiansyah. We are the student of Department Communication and Islamic Broadcasting, Faculty of Da'wah and Communication. As the Master of Ceremony, we would like to apologize if we have a lot of mistakes, and let's close our agenda today by saying Hamdalah together. Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
Alamin. See you again on the next event. Nun wal kulami wa mayasrun, and
Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Salsabila, and also Febri, and yes.
You're welcome, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Al-Muhammadi. See you again.
See you again, sir.
Yeah,
See you again, Mr. Muhammadi and Miss Rania.
Inshallah. Miss Rania, I look forward to hear your presentation again in future.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much. I'm really glad to participate today.
Dr. Muhammadi, are you now in Istek?
I am, exactly. I'm in Istek with a joint appointment at the Den Haag, Netherlands.
Oh, I see. Okay, thank you. All right.
Please come to Malaysia and visit Istek because I'm
now I don't know whether Malaysia is open now already